Imagine finding out the monster that has been haunting you was you all along, and then having to use this monstrous power to fight crimes alongside a team of crazy detectives. That describes the plot of the anime which we will be recapping today, Bungou Stray Dogs. Episode 1. The episode begins with Atsushi, an orphanage reject drowning in starvation at the riverside. He soon meets a man named Dazai, who was literally drowning in a suicide attempt and saves him. They soon get joined by Dazai's associate Kunikida, and they treat Atsushi to a bunch of rice bowls at a restaurant. The duo reveals themselves to be members of the Armed Detective Agency, an elite agency of supernaturally gifted individuals, and that they were also searching for a certain rogue tiger around the area. Atsushi got terrified and revealed how the tiger had been chasing him after it decimated his former orphanage. Atsushi agrees to help Dazai find the tiger after being offered a huge financial reward. That night at a deserted warehouse, Dazai exposes the truth that Atsushi is actually the tiger, and Atsushi later transformed into the beast and attacked. Dazai uses his erasure ability to transform him back into human form. They soon get joined by other members of the Armed Detective Agency, including Kunikida, Yosano, Rampo, and Renji, and Dazai decides to make Atsushi a member of the organization. Episode 2. Atsushi wakes up the next day in his new dorm at the agency, and soon gets a call from Dazai about an emergency. But it was just to save him from yet another weird suicide attempt. Atsushi opens up to Dazai about his insecurity regarding his offer to join the agency, and decides to get a job elsewhere instead. Dazai and Atsushi parole in search of a job, and they run into Kunikida, who informs them about the hostage situation at their office. It was a bomber demanding to see the president of the agency. After a bit of stalling from Atsushi, Kunikida creates a wire gun using his Dopo Poet ability and steals the bomber's trigger. When the bomber takes control again and activates the bomb, Atsushi covers up the bomb with his body in order to save the hostage. They revealed to him that it was all a test and the bomber and the hostage were actually the Tanizaki siblings, Junichiro and Naomi, who worked at the agency as well. The president as well as the other members accept him, and Atsushi officially joins the Armed Detectives Agency. Episode 3. During a game, it's revealed that Dazai's past job is a big mystery. Atsushi tried and failed multiple times to guess it and claim the huge prize. Later on, Atsushi gets a job to investigate some smugglers at a client's office, and it is to be accompanied by the Tanizaki siblings. Kunikida warns him about a dangerously gifted member of the port mafia, Akutagawa. The same Akutagawa massacres a military police station at the same time. The client was apparently a port mafia member named Higuchi, and she fires her gun at them after leading them into a dead end and calling Akutagawa. Naomi gets shot protecting Junichiro, and eventually attacks Higuchi with the aid of his illusionary ability Light Snow. Akutagawa brutally attacks him from behind with his Rashomon ability, and saves Higuchi. Akutagawa then attacks Atsushi in an attempt to capture him, but he fights back in his tiger form. Akutagawa reveals the port mafia's goal to claim the weird tiger and the 7 billion yen bounty on his head, as well as Dazai's identity as an ex-port mafia agent. Episode 4. Atsushi wakes up and Kunikida informs him of the bounty on his head, while Yosano treats Junichiro's injury. Later on, the Black Lizard group of the port mafia brutally murders the workers at a warehouse for sneakishly selling the organization's cargo in the black market. Atsushi sees the massacre and calls Higuchi, informing her that he's quitting the Armed Detectives Agency and running away. She calls in the Black Lizard group to attack the agency's office. They raid the agency's office and immediately go guns blazing. Atsushi hears the gunshots and runs back to the agency filled with terror, but on arriving, he sees that the detectives have already been defeated by the Black Lizard members. Episode 5. While cleaning up the agency, he notices Rampo's eccentric character, as he brags about his ultra deduction ability being the best in the world. Atsushi gets sent on a murder case with Rampo. They arrive at the scene after a train ride and sees the corpse. They soon meet Dazai at the scene in yet another suicide attempt. Rampo brags even more about his crime-solving ability, and soon activates it by putting on a pair of glasses. He reveals that the killer is Sergeant Sugimoto, the subordinate of the victim. After a failed attack from Sugimoto, Rampo revealed some other details and the perpetrator was arrested. At the station, Sugimoto confessed to killing Yamagiwa, and the detectives left. Atsushi was amazed by Rampo's power, but gets even more amazed when Dazai tells him that it's not a supernatural ability at all. Atsushi ended up understanding why everyone at the agency respects Rampo as they do. Episode 6. Kunikida walks into the office and meets Atsushi troubled by Dazai, who went crazy after taking an intoxicating mushroom in a suicide attempt. The trio soon go on a case involving disappearances in Yokohama, and they meet with a hacker named Taguchi. They get information from him as well as a taxi driver who met the victims, and soon arrived at the abandoned hospital where the crimes took place. They saved a university professor named Sasaki from drowning, but failed to save a bunch of other victims who got poisoned while contained in a glass chamber. Kunikida met with the taxi driver at Yokohama with a gang after realizing that he was the kidnapper. The driver revealed that the Port Mafia put him up to it, and the Port Mafia agents attacked them with guns. Kunikida takes them out but soon comes face to face with Akutagawa. Kunikida fends off a flurry of vicious attacks from Akutagawa and soon tries to counter. Akutagawa leaves and Kunikida later reveals to the gang how Taguchi's father died. Kunikida then gets another job to disarm a bomb from a mysterious informant named Azure Messenger. Speaking of bombs, you're not gonna trigger any by hitting that like and subscribe button. Instead, you'd be assuring yourself a constant feed of entertaining content. Episode 7. Kunikida briefs the rest of the agency about the bomb threat, and Yukichi orders them to find the Azure Messenger and disarm the bomb. Later on, Sasaki reveals to the trio who rescued her, and that she thinks the Azure King is the one behind this bomb threat. Rampo calls Atsushi and deduces the location of the bomb to be a fishing shop in Negishi, and they rush over there. The trio gets simultaneously informed that transmission equipment was mysteriously sent to a former police facility recently, and that the driver had died. They arrived at the facility and Kunikida faces a superpowered criminal, while Atsushi and Dazai try to stop the bomb's transmission signal but get attacked by a muscular man. Dazai and Kunikida switch positions, and Dazai easily erases the bomber's ability and beats him, while Kunikida beats the other guy and stops the bomb. Later on, Dazai informs Kunikida of another mastermind pulling the strings. Taguchi shows up but gets shot by the mastermind, which was Sasaki all along. In a surprising twist, Taguchi shoots and kills Sasaki as vengeance for his father's death. Kunikida gets angry at Dazai for letting things go that way. Episode 8. A mysterious little girl approaches Dazai and activates her ability. Soon after, the detective agency gets word that Dazai is missing. Atsushi accompanies Yosano on a shopping trip and crosses paths with the mysterious little girl. Their train gets taken over by Port Mafia's Kaji, who uses lemon-like bombs. Kaji attacks Yosano, while the little girl from earlier, a Port Mafia assassin named Kyoka, attacks Atsushi with her Demon Snow ability after taking orders from her cell phone, while Kaji blew up a train car with Yosano trapped in it. Kaji returned to find Yosano still alive due to her healing ability, and she brutally defeats him. Atsushi defeats Demon Snow and soon discovers Kyoka was wearing a bomb with the mission to die while killing the passengers. Kyoka jumps out of the train, Atsushi activates his powers, jumps along with her, and saves her by ripping out the bomb. Later on, Akutagawa is shown to be the one who gave her orders, and he had Dazai in his custody. Episode 9. Kyoka wakes up at the armed detectives agency and they begin to question her. They take her to get some Tachibanato's boiled tofu as she requested, and she revealed how the Port Mafia took her in after her mother's death to use her ability, and how Akutagawa was the one ordering her. Kunikida advises Atsushi against saving her as she was both a fugitive and Port Mafia's traitor. Atsushi and Kyoka have fun together on a date and Kyoka decided to turn herself in at a police station afterwards. They get ambushed by Akutagawa, who stabs and abducts Atsushi. President Yukichi orders the rest of the armed detectives to find Atsushi. Dazai's former partner at the Port Mafia, Chuya, frees him from his chains and challenges him to a fight. Rampo deduces Atsushi's location to be on a moving ship and Kunikida heads out to save him. Episode 10. Chuya beats Dazai in a physical brawl, but he ends up playing into Dazai's hands and revealing vital information. Akutagawa torments Atsushi and Kyoka, but when Kunikida arrives, Kyoka activates a bunch of explosives on the ship to give Atsushi a chance to escape. On meeting Kunikida, Atsushi decides to go back and save Kyoka. He does and soon afterwards fights Akutagawa. Akutagawa dominates the fight, but eventually Atsushi manages to knock him into the river with a massive punch. Kunikida takes Atsushi and Kyoka away on his boat. Dazai discovers that the ones who put the bounty on Atsushi is a gifted organization called the Guild, led by Francis, who was still determined to succeed in his goals. Episode 11. Atsushi walks into the armed detective's office and shockingly sees his comrades having fun with Kyoka. Kyoka later begged Yukichi to let her join their agency and he reluctantly agrees. Akutagawa was hospitalized after the were-tiger battle and is soon kidnapped by a bunch of smugglers. Higuchi attempts to rescue him alone but gets outgunned until the Black Lizard organization shows up and shoot down the opposition. She reaches Akutagawa and cries after he wakes up thanking her. At the agency's office, Atsushi gets sent on a job with Kenji on a case involving a car explosion. They confront the gang responsible and Kenji easily defeats them using his superhuman strength. Episode 12. Atsushi wakes up and discovers Kyoka is his new roommate. Soon, the detective organization get a sudden visit from the guild's leader, Francis. He approached the president to buy the armed detectives agency for a large sum. However, Yukichi refuses. The next day, the detectives get news of a missing building and they move out in groups to look for Kenji, who was missing. Tanizaki, Atsushi, and Naomi gets absorbed into a colorful dimension, and the male duo are faced with Lucy, a guild appreciate and her monstrous ability named Anne. Tanizaki is captured and kept in a secluded room. Atsushi evades Anne with his were-tiger ability. With a little help from Junichiro and the mysterious scientist, Atsushi forces Lucy to send everyone back to the real world. Kyoka gets terrified after meeting the scientist and his daughter, and is revealed to be Mori Ogai, the leader of the Port Mafia. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more exciting anime content. And if this video gets 10k views, then I'll make a recap for the second season of this anime.